This is the first time in years where the AFC looks like it's wide open and not just going to be the annual Chiefs beat the Bills in heartbreaking fashion, with the Ravens inventing a new way to choke somewhere along the way against one of those teams, and the Steelers sneaking into the playoffs with 9 to 10 wins just to get blown out by double digits as the 7th seed, and then all the other teams just being there for fun and standing no chance. I'm pretty much just going to be breaking down every playoff team and what I think about them and if they can make a run. Sitting at the top of the AFC is the New England Patriots, who no one expected to be leading the division, let alone have the best record in the NFL. They've got a super easy schedule, but they beat Buffalo and Tampa, who are pretty good, but those are really the only good teams they played. Drake May is playing at an MVP level and really elevated the passing offense to one of the best in the NFL. The defense overall has been very good, but one big concern is they have the worst opponent red zone touchdown percentage, meaning when teams get in the red zone, they're giving up a touchdown nearly 3 and 4 times. It's still hard to figure out how good they are since they haven't been tested too well and only played one AFC playoff team, so we haven't seen how they do against any of the other top AFC teams besides Buffalo. This moves us into the next team we're going to talk about, which is the Buffalo Bills. The Bills don't look as good as prior years and just seem off this year. Josh Allen's still been playing well, but not really at the MVP level and has been off some games. He doesn't have many weapons out there, and with really only being throwing to Kincaid and Shakir, but the Bills' offense has still been very good. The defense hasn't, though, being one of the worst teams against the run. The passing defense has been good, being the least thrown against team in the league and allowing the least passing yards against. The Bills just haven't looked as dominant a team as we've seen in prior years, and looks like they'll be the 5 or 6 seed and just haven't been able to get over that hump in the playoffs, always losing to the Chiefs when it matters most. The AFC North is a battle between the Ravens and Steelers and could come down to the very last game of the season where they face each other. For both these teams, it's division winner or bust. I'm extremely confident Baltimore takes the division, so I won't even talk about the Steelers. The Ravens got off to the worst start imaginable, being 1-5 and looking dead, but won 5 in a row with really the only quality one being the Bears, even though they just looked a lot better. However, they just looked terrible against the Bengals this week, and Lamar doesn't look as sharp as past years. The defense has improved from the beginning of the season, but still hasn't been great. The pass rush has been non-existent with with the sack leader being Mike Green, who only has 2.5 sacks. And they have allow a lot of yards per game, but are passed against a lot, but don't have that many yards per reception, and the secondary has been up and down. They're 1-5 against teams with a winning record, and in those losses, they were only within 7 in one of those games. This Ravens team looks like a first-round exit, especially since they play the top wildcard team. The Colts are currently the favorites to win the AFC and were expected to be in a rebuild year, but are one of the top teams in the league right now. Daniel Jones looks like he's reviving his career and not playing scared anymore, leading the number one offense in the league along with Jonathan Taylor, who has been the best running back in the NFL. Jones is surrounded by one of the best receiving corps in the league with Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, and Tyler Warren, and a good O-line. The defense is ninth in points allowed but 23rd in yards allowed, and they went all in trading for Sauce Gardner to upgrade the secondary. They started to come down to earth a bit the past few weeks, despite still being good, but they'll be tested the next few games, having to play 4 division games along with the Seahawks and 49ers. The Jags are only 1 game behind them, and Houston is 2, and they play both of them twice, so they will have to finish the season strong to win the division. The Jaguars are surprisingly 7-4 and have a chance at the division since 3 out of their last 6 remaining games are against the Jets and the Titans, and the other are division games. They have the ninth best odds to win the AFC, but it's 74% chance to make the playoffs. They've been very bipolar and a hard team to evaluate because the past 4 games they've barely beat the Raiders and Cardinals in overtime and blew a double-digit lead to Davis Mills, but then absolutely dominated the Chargers, holding them to 6 points and scoring 5 touchdowns. It looks like they're not as good as their record says, but they'll likely find a way into the playoffs. Staying in the AFC South, the Texans are the first team out of the playoffs right now and are sitting at a 47 chance to make it. The defense has been incredible and allows the least yards per game and second least points per game. And they're also second in yards allowed per play and third down conversion rate against. The offense hasn't been very good with Stroud being up and down and also missing time, where Davis Mills did a good job of filling in. They haven't had anyone step up as wide receiver 2 behind Collins, and the O-line hasn't been very good, and they don't really have a run game. They have to play the Colts twice and the Chiefs and the Chargers, so I don't really like their odds to get in the playoffs. But they've won a playoff game the last 2 seasons, even as underdogs in both. And if they make it, their defense could probably carry them to a victory. Moving over to the AFC West, the Broncos have won 8 straight and are 9-2 in competition for the 1 seed. They play to the level of the competition where they're barely beating the Jets and Raiders and need a huge comeback to beat the Giants, but also beating good teams like the Eagles, Chiefs, and Cowboys. And it seems like Bo Nix does the absolute least he has to win, but he has been clutch for Denver. Denver is one of the best defenses in the league and leads the league in sacks and allows the least yards per carry in the league with a complete shutdown front seven. The secondary has been very good, being fifth in passing yards allowed per game and sixth in passing yards per completion. The concern with them is that they can play a full 60 minutes in a playoff game, mainly the offense, because it's been inconsistent in the playoffs with much less room for error. They currently have the third best odds to win the AFC. Second in the division is the Chargers, sitting at 7-4 and a 65% chance to make the playoffs. Their most recent game, they got steamrolled by Jacksonville, and Herbert is getting killed out there by his O-line. They are getting Amari and Hampton back from injury, so they'll have a run game. The defense has been pretty good overall, being 10th in points allowed and 5th in yards per game, but they've definitely had some rough games. Strong suit of the defense is the secondary, doing well against the pass, but they haven't been able to stop the run. Looking at their schedule after this week, against the Raiders, they have 5 tough games, and I don't think they make the playoffs. The Chiefs have not looked like the Chiefs we're used to, not being able to win one-score games and being 6-6 and outside the playoffs. However, I'm not convinced they're dead yet until I see an E next to their name. The offense and defense are top 10 in points per game and yards per game, and this team plays their best football when it matters, so I think they turn it around the next few weeks, going 4-1 to end the season and sneaking into the playoffs. They've made the AFC Championship the past 7 years and made the Super Bowl 3 consecutive seasons and 5 out of the last 7 seasons, so I'm not counting this team out if they make the playoffs. I predicted out the rest of the season. Here's what the playoffs would look like.